fence and install a faucet, all at the same time. How am I going to mow my lawn, build a fence, and install a faucet all at the same time? Through specialization in trade. In another set of videos, we discussed how trade is made a win, and it is. In this case, I'm able to specialize in what I do best, which is teaching, writing, speaking, and making Learn Liberty videos. I'm able to take the money I earn from all this and then pay people who are better at mowing grass, building fences, and installing faucets than I am. Everybody is better off. Now, I'm sure someone in the comments section is going to say, yeah, but you're terrible at this. You might be right. It just so happens that I'm even worse at cutting grass, building fences, and installing faucets. Don't believe me? Ask whether you'd like to hire me to swing a hammer at your house, or even whether you just let me without having to pay. I'm not so sure you'd like the results. What's cool is that this works even if one person is absolutely better at everything than his or her trading partners. Let's illustrate with a simple example. Let's imagine that Wes, my yard guy, has an awesome lawnmower and can mow a lawn in 30 minutes or prepare a 75-minute economics lecture in an hour. I, on the other hand, take 2 hours to mow a lawn and an hour and a half to prepare the same economics lecture. If we don't specialize in trade, my yard guy Wes spends a total of an hour and a half cutting grass and prepping economics lectures. I, on the other hand, spend 3.5 hours cutting grass and preparing economics lectures. What happens after we specialize? If Wes cuts both lawns and I prepare both economics lectures, he spends an hour cutting grass and I spend 3 hours prepping economics lectures. We both save 30 minutes. That's extra time we can spend doing pretty much everything we want. Here's a true story. We used some of that spare time to have lunch together one day. And Wes, who has a master's degree in philosophy, then used some of his free time to attend one of my lectures and make comments and suggestions. That's just a simple example of the logic behind a simple but profound idea in economics. Trade creates wealth. And thanks to trade, I can cut grass, build fences, and install faucets without hurting myself. Well, not too bad anyway.
I was expecting some.
Alright, so how was that guy able to get so much done in a day?
He pays others to do it.
Right? And where does the money that he get? Where does he get the money to do that?
From his job that he's doing.
Right? Yeah, he specializes in doing one thing, which is economics, and then takes the money that he earns from that and turns around and has other people help him do the things that he needs to get done. Alrighty, I'm going to give you guys a little something to follow along with.
All right.
We'll do a little activity. So you can put your computers up. You're not going to need those today. Today will be an all manual day.
Well, it's just a vote.
Yeah, have you not voted yet?
No.
All right, and I need 6 volunteers. All right. Boom. 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 And there you go. All right. So, guys, if I just gave you one of those pieces of paper, what I need you to do is stand up. All right. So, these people represent the labor force of country A. Right? And country A can produce 2 items. Right? Remember production possibility curves? Like this. Right. They show our ability to produce 2 different items. So we're looking at country A. We're going to start off. I want everyone to hold up your phones. Right. So at this point in time, this is what each person is capable of producing. So with everybody making phones, how many phones are we making in country A right now?
36.
30.
No, 5 times 6 is 30.
Oh, 30. I thought
Woo-hoo-hoo!
I thought
Man! All right, let's try that again. How many phones are we producing? 30, right? So if you're one of the ones still sitting in your desk, on that paper that I gave you on the front side where it says country A, in column A, how many phones are being produced? Question mark? 30, thank you. And how many tablets are being produced at the same time?
6.
No, you're making phones.
No, 0.
If everyone is making phones, how many? You have 0. All right. And so, what problem does that leave for consumers in country A? They don't get tablets, right? And so, we're going to decide, let's produce some tablets. So, we're going to have Spencer is going to be our. Spencer is going to be our tablet guy. He's going to take off, start our tablet division in country A. So everyone else stays producing phones, and Spencer switches to tablets. So at this point in time, how many phones are we producing?
25.
25. How many tablets are we producing?
1.
1. Right, and then we get Kevin to switch over.
20.
So 20 phones and 2 tablets. And then Dylan switches over.
15.
So we're 15 and 3. And then Taylor switches. 10 and 4. All right, Zoe switches over. 5 and 5. And then our last holdout, we switch over.
0.
So now we're 0 phones and 6 tablets, right? So country A, using all of their resources, can either produce 30 phones or 6 tablets, right? That's what that chart tells us. If they put all their resources into one or the other, it's either 30 phones or 6 tablets, right? So there it is visually a couple different ways, right? In a table and also in the PPC. All right. Now, if you would, I'll take those back from you guys. Did you do this? You sure?
I'm sure.
And if you're hungry, let me know. All right. And now.
I didn't even touch the paper can.
All right. So if I just gave you a paper, now stand up. Right. This is the labor force of country B. Right. And so country B is going to start off producing all phones. Everybody hold up your phone side. How many phones are we producing? 18, right? 3 times 6. So we have 18. How many tablets do we have? 0. So we're at 18 phones and 0 tablets. All right. We have Michelle switch, and now she's going to do tablets. All right. So how many phones? 15 and tablets? 2. And then Brianna switches. 12 and 4. And then Cameron switches. 9 and 6. Bailey switches. 6 and 8. Ansley switches. What was that?
3 and 10.
All right. And then Randy switches over.
0 and 12.
0 and 12. All right. So you'll notice the PPC for country B is also up on the board, this time in red. So if you're red, green colorblind, I apologize. So if you're red, green colorblind, I apologize.
I thought you were like
have
saying
trouble
like
seeing the red.
red and green.
No. So here is country B, where we can produce. We put all of our resources into phones. We can make 18. Put all of our resources into tablets. We can make 12. All right, and so if we tried to, in both of those economies, if we tried to have some of each, right, if they tried to produce right down the middle, how many phones would you produce in country A? 15. How many tablets? 3. All right, and then what would happen in country B if you're trying to get in the middle? 9 and 6. All right, those numbers are going to be important as we go in. All right, so let's take a look at those questions that are down below. This is going to be one way to figure out opportunity costs for these two countries. We have to figure out how much each one of these items cost in country A and in country B. We have to figure out opportunity costs. So what are they giving up when they decide to produce phones or tablets? Right? So question A for country A is, what is the opportunity cost of 5 phones? So every time you give up 5 phones, what do you gain? 1 tablet, right? Or every time you gain 5 phones, how many tablets do you lose? 1. So 5 phones are equal to 1 tablet. Right? The opportunity cost of producing 5 phones is that you're missing out on producing 1 tablet. Right? So we need to find what is the opportunity cost of producing just 1 phone. What's going to be the easy way to do that? Divide by 5, right? So we'll divide 5 phones by 5. That's going to give us 1 phone. And then 1 tablet divided by 5. That means that 1 phone is equal to 1/5 of a tablet. So the opportunity cost of producing a phone in country A is that you are not producing 1/5 of a tablet. All right? What I want you guys to do is look over at country B and try to answer questions A and B for country B. It's going to be exactly the same, but with new numbers. So what is the opportunity cost of 3 phones? 2 tablets. So what is it? What is 1 phone? 2/3 of a tablet. All right. And then let's look at C for country A. What is the opportunity cost of producing 2 tablets? Right? Every time you gain 2 tablets, you're giving up 10 phones. And so how much does 1 tablet cost us? What's the opportunity cost of producing 2 tablets? When you go from 0 tablets to 2 tablets in country A, 0 to 2, how did you get that? Right? And then to find 1 tablet, we're going to divide by 2 so that 1 tablet equals 5 phones. What do we notice the relationship between the opportunity cost here and the opportunity cost here?
They're all reciprocal.
Reciprocals, right? So once you find one, you have the other if you'll just flip it around. Right, so once you find the opportunity cost of phones, the reciprocal becomes the opportunity cost for tablets, right, or whatever items that you're looking at. So go ahead and do C and D for country B. Right, and then also answer those questions at the bottom. Who has the lower opportunity cost for phones, and who has the lower opportunity cost for tablets? So for that one, you compare your answers to B in each country. You compare those to see who has the lower opportunity cost. And you do the same thing with D. You compare those to see who gives up less in order to produce one phone or one tablet. So yeah, you would rather, would you rather pay 20 cents or 66 cents? Yeah.
Smart somewhere.
All right, so who pays the lower opportunity cost for producing phones?
Country.
Country A, right?
Yeah.
Because what's the opportunity cost of a phone in country A? 1/5 of a tablet, and in country B, 2/3. 1/5 is less than 2/3. So you would rather pay 20 cents than 66 cents, right? Think about it that way. And then, so who has the lower opportunity cost for producing tablets? Country B. So what should these two countries do? Trade. Yay! They should trade, right? And so we'll find out exactly what their terms of trade should be a little bit later. Because should they trade one phone for one tablet?
No.
Right? That's probably not going to work out, is it? So we got to figure out what's going to be the relationship between phones and tablets going between those two countries. Remember yesterday we talked about the two methods for calculating opportunity cost? Right, do you remember what those two are?
Input.
All right, we can read the board. What you guys looking
I
at?
wasn't looking, man.
All right, so input and output. Does anybody remember the rule? We talked about output yesterday. All right, O, and what does that stand for?
Number over.
Outer number.
So output,
It's other number over.
other number over. Right? Output, other number goes
Miss
over.
Gordon
Yes.
and Michelle Hernandez, the front lobby to sign out, please.
Sure thing.
Thank you.
All right. Did I give you did I give you all input?
It was on the paper, but
Yeah.
we didn't.
Input is the reciprocal, and so instead of the other number going over, what do you think happens?
The other
Goes
number
under.
goes under.
The other number goes under. So
Other.
input, you think I owe you, meaning input, other number under. Have a good weekend. All right, so
Gordon, which number is the other?
so if you're looking at, let's just look at this one here. If we're looking at cakes, other number is pizzas. So
6 over
let's
2.
let's look at this one as both an output and an input problem, right? So if we are trying to determine the opportunity cost of cakes for Miss Thompson, so as it is up here, is this an output or an input problem? Is it finished goods that we end up with using a certain amount of resources, or is it the resources that are going in to getting finished goods?
Out. Says out.
So yeah, this is output. These are the finished goods that come out in an hour, right? So in order to find the opportunity cost of one cake, we take our cake number, which is 2 for Miss Thompson. All right. And the other number is what?
6.
6, right? What's her pizza number? Pizza number 6. It goes over. And so one cake equals how many pizzas? All right. And then for me, opportunity cost of one cake equals, what's the cake number? 4, and the other goes over. And so one cake equals 2 pizzas, right? So who gives up less pizza to make a cake, right? So I pay a lower opportunity cost. Right? I give up less pizzas when I make cake. So chances are I should be making cakes. But in order to know that for sure, we'll also figure out the other side. Right? We'll make sure that Ms. Thompson has a comparative advantage in pizzas as well. Right? So for Thompson, the opportunity cost of one pizza is equal to pizza number, and the other number goes over. So one pizza is equal to what? 1/3 of a cake. And then for me, one pizza is worth what? 1/2, right? This would be the 4 over 8. So who pays a lower opportunity cost for pizzas? Right, Thompson. Think about, she's buying her pizzas for 33 cents. I'm buying them for 50 cents. Right, who gets a better deal? She does. So if this were, as an output problem, I should make cakes. Miss Thompson should make pizzas. Right, and then we would need to figure out what price we would each pay for the other item. And we'll get to that later. Now, let's just look at it if it is an input problem. So let's say instead of it being 2 cakes per hour, let's say it takes 2 hours to make one cake for Miss Thompson. And it takes me 4 hours to make one cake. Who has the absolute advantage in that situation? Miss Thompson, right? Because she can make one cake with fewer resources. All right. So if we're looking at it as an input problem, if it's cakes or hours to produce one cake and one pizza, Ms. Thompson's opportunity cost of one cake would be what?
30 minutes. 2 cakes per hour.
Right.
1 cake.
No. We're doing this one not as an output. We're instead saying it takes 2 hours to make a cake. So switch that around. 2 hours per cake.
2 hours.
So the number in question is 2. And where does the other number go? Under. So one cake equals. So every time she makes a cake, she's not making 1/3 of a pizza. All right. For me, what's it going to be?
4 over 8.
All right. So who pays who gives up less pizzas when they make a cake?
Miss Thompson.
Miss Thompson.
All right, and then we'll do it the other way around. Right, 1 pizza equals, what's our fraction going to
6
be?
hours.
What's the fraction going to be?
6 over 2.
6 over 2 or 3 cakes. So every time she makes a pizza, she is not making 3 full cakes. Right, there are 3 full cakes she could have been making. And then with me, every time I make a pizza, there's what?
8 over 4. 2 cakes you could have made.
8 over 4. So yeah, 2 cakes. So who gives up less cake when they make pizza? Okay. Now, do you guys notice anything
Correlated, yeah.
about the input and output method?
Pretty much the same thing.
Right.
It is
It's all the same math. It's just reciprocals, right? If it's so, even if you calculate out one of these, thinking it's output, right, and then you realize, oh snap, it's input, then just switch it, right? Because they're all reciprocals.
Mine's just boom. I love this one. Kevin, you're the watching.
Yeah, do you guys understand? You can see what I'm talking about?
Yeah.
We watch it.
Yeah, I'll
Well, it's just so when we're talking about cakes, right? What's Miss Thompson's number for cakes? 2. Well, her number is 2, and then the other number goes under, so the other number is 6. So the 6 goes under, right? And then we just reduce it down so that every time Miss Thompson makes 1 cake, right, or spends 1 hour making cake, she's losing 1/3 of a pizza that she could be making. Right? And so down here, same thing. When I make 1 cake, right, I'm not making 2 pizzas. Whereas when she makes a cake, she's not making 3 pizzas. So she's giving up more pizza than I am. So I have the lower cost. I should be making pizzas. All right, so there's the math again. Right. So now that we have determined what the opportunity costs are, right? Now that we've done this math down here for our outputs, and we find that the opportunity cost of Miss Thompson is 1 cake equals 3 pizzas, right? And 1 pizza equals 1/3 of a cake. Right? No, you don't have to write this. So 1 cake, Miss Thompson would be willing to pay any price up to 3 pizzas. She would not pay more than 3 pizzas for a cake. Why not?
because then she'd be losing out.
She'd be losing out, right? And then myself, for a cake, I would want to earn more than 2 pizzas. So what might Miss Thompson offer me for a cake?
3 pieces?
She might offer 3, but it would feel better if she did what?
2 pieces. What?
Or maybe 2.5?
Yeah, 2.5 pieces.
Right? So that's that idea of finding the terms of trade. So I would be willing to accept 2.5 pizzas, because that means I'm going to end up with more pizzas than I would if I did it all by myself. Right? So this is probably something you want to take notes on. You probably want to write down. This is kind of working through that problem. All right? Word-wise. Yes.
No, I don't know. I was so you still don't want to.
Did y'all realize
Definitely not. Get over yourself.
I did stretching and stuff. I didn't go outside.
I can't wait to go home. There's a video of you running to myself. Or smell the way you run to myself. For a long time. That's my mother.
Okay, so when you get to a comparative advantage problem, the question itself is going to have information in it, right? Information is going to be about two people or two nations that are producing the same two items. Okay? And it's either going to be given to you in a chart, like it was the cakes and pizzas for myself and Miss Thompson, or it will be given to you in production possibility curves. Right? And what this production possibility curve means, like for country A, is that if they put all of their resources into phones, how many can they make?
Put all the resources
In the phones, how many do they make?
30.
30. Right? That tells us the same thing as this table right here, correct? It says country A puts all the resources into phones, how many do they make? Here. 30. This gives us the exact same information. Right? So once we have found the information that is pertinent to us as test takers, we then have to figure out, is it output? Is it input? Okay. When we were talking about country A and country B and phones and tablets, was that output or is that input?
What?
When we were talking about, when we did our little activity with country A and country B. That's output, right? It was how many phones or tablets are being produced per worker in the economy. Right? That's an output problem.
How would you make that input, please?
What, is that a question, sir?
How would you make that input?
Do what?
Phones and tablets. How would you make that input?
How would you make that into what?
Input.
Oh, how would you make it input?
Yeah.
Say it takes 30 hours to make one phone, right? Or 6 hours to make a tablet, something like that. So input would be the resources going in. It takes 30 workers in a plant to produce 1,000 phones, something like that. So then figure out who has the absolute advantage. So in our phone and tablet example, who has the absolute advantage in phones? Country A. Who has the absolute advantage in tablets? Country B. Right? And then you want to figure out who has the comparative advantage. A lot of times finding out the absolute advantage, if they're different, right, if each one has their own absolute advantage, finding the comparative is not that hard, but sometimes it's not as simple as it seems, especially if the numbers are really close. But we want to figure out what the comparative advantage is, so we got to find the opportunity cost, right, of producing one unit of each good. Right, so in country A, 30 phones equals 6 tablets. Right, or if we reduce that down, how much does one phone cost? You ready to do this math? On the paper. If 30 phones cost 6 tablets in country A, how much does one phone cost in country A? in terms of tablets.
Oh, wait.
Yeah,
1/5.
4. Okay.
1/5, right? 6 divided by 30, reduce down to 1/5, right? So you have to figure out how much each one costs. So in country B, if 18 phones equals 12 tablets, we divided both sides by 18 to find the cost of one phone. How much is that one phone in terms of tablets? 2/3. Right, and then you just identify the nation that has the lowest opportunity cost for producing one unit of each good, and that's your comparative advantage. Right, so in our example, comparative advantages are country A in phones, country B in tablets. And then after you figure out the comparative advantage, the next thing to do is to determine the terms of trade. Right? What should each country accept for the thing that they have in order to get the stuff that they want at a price that is convenient to them. Right? So to determine the terms of trade, right, each country is going to specialize in one or the other. Right? You specialize in the one you have the comparative advantage in, and then you export that one and import the other one. And the terms of trade are going to be whatever is mutually beneficial to the two countries. So, country A is going to want to get more tablets from country B than it could get if they produced on their own. Right? So, looking at the production possibility curve for country A, the one in blue, if they tried to produce both phones and tablets, what level would they produce at? Country A. 15 and 3, right? So, country A would be willing to give up to 15 phones if they can get more than 3 tablets. Right, and then country B is only going to be willing to give up tablets if they're going to end up with more phones than they would have if they produce phones as well. So with country B, if they produce 6 tablets, how many phones do they have?
9.
9, right? So country B will be willing to give up 6 tablets if they get more than 9 phones out of the deal. And so what you'll see is that country A would be willing to give up 15 phones if they're getting 6 tablets. Because the 6 tablets they get are more than the 3 they would have if they produce 15 phones. So they've increased their wealth. Right? And then country B would be willing to give up those 6 tablets. If they got 15 phones, they'd even take less than that, right? What's the lowest amount of phones country B would take for 6 tablets?
No.
Well, you want to get more than 9. So 10, right? They'd take at least 10 phones for 6 tablets. So what you're going to find is that somewhere in that range is where the price is going to fall for each of those items. Right? The terms of trade will be roughly what we have here, where 15 phones equals 6 tablets, or we start reducing that down, 5 phones equals 2 tablets, or they're trading 1 tablet for how many phones?
1 tablet for 25 dollars.
25?
Okay, 16.
Would country A go for that?
No. Yeah.
Why wouldn't country A be willing to give up 25 phones?
Because it's the limit.
How many phones would they end up with if they gave away 25 phones?
5.
Yeah, would that be enough?
Oh.
That'd be less than they could do on their own. So it's not advantageous to give up 25 phones for 6 tablets. But 1 tablet, based on these numbers, 1 tablet equals how many phones?
6.
Divide both of those by 2.
1/2.
What?
1 divided by 2 is 1/2.
Where are you getting a 1? Like these
You
two
said,
numbers right
what
here.
would 1
5 and
tablet
2.
What are you pointing at some number? Oh. 5 over 2.
So to get how many tablets, or to get for 1 tablet, how many phones would they want to trade? What is half of 5?
2.5.
You guys understand how fractions work, right? Same way they worked over here on the other side of the board. To get 2 to reduce down to 1, what do you have to do to it? Divide by 2. And it's an equation. What do you do to the other side? Divide by 2. 5 divided by 2. 2.5. So they'd be willing to trade 2.5 phones for 1 tablet. You guys have to try. All right. What I want you to do, take the page that I gave you that's got country A and country B information on it. Go ahead, flip that over. There's a word problem down at the bottom that deals with opportunity cost. Right. I want you guys to work on that question individually, and then we'll see if we can work it out as a group. So all of the words, you read them. Sure. Right. Yeah. So right now, I want you to focus on the bottom part.
Oh, okay.
That's just a place for you to collect information.
It just clicked. He's gonna watch this video. He's gonna hear us talking about it. He's Like he can't see his top.
Did you not make one? But I know what I'm doing.
If I look, think about it. I'm gonna actually have no way.
Well, that's what the rest of that. These questions 2 through 11 help you get to that point. So you may not be wrong, but make sure you're right by doing all of the work to get there.
I think I should get my calculator out. Oh, good.
Nerd. Actually, anti-nerd. How do you not do that math in your head?
Yeah. I know. I mean, who doesn't know what half of 5 is? Not that. Not all. But I really couldn't think of that way. Alright, I think you touched this. Oh my gosh, I need to do this. Alright, so
That's up to whether the numbers you were given
And it's 4.
are resources going in.
Because you divide.
Final goods coming
So
out.
what's right?
So I'm thinking this one's out.
So this
Oh,
one,
so
yeah.
like this whole problem
Yeah.
would be input or output.
Yeah.
Okay. I thought
Yeah.
like
So it's either resources going into the production of X number of items, that's an input, or it's number of finished goods coming out in a day's worth of work.
5 out of 20? I think it's good. To make it 1 pie.
All right, we're
I
just
want
down.
the, I want the next one. Huh?
We're just down.
That's really fun. No, 5 cakes is 25. I didn't.
They'll be like the reciprocals, won't they?
Mm-hmm.
4, 1.2.
Yes, ma'am.
You can see if I'm on the right track. Understanding everything. So
So the next one's
about 20 by 5 is 4.
Mm-hmm.
Yes, ma'am.
By 4, which is 2. 5 by 20.
Ah.
25, and then 8.
Mm-hmm.
Who was the apple in the name? Take away. I'm gonna say. Lauren.
Hey, Donald Trump. He's an economist.
You get negative and
So his absolute advantage
He didn't
is
go to school.
which one of these
Yes, he did.
numbers?
He went
No,
to.
he has a degree in economics, which is not business economics, like basic economics.
Absolute is you can just simply produce
Or business school.
No, it shouldn't be 4.
What's the second part of this? What's that?
That's 8.
What'd you
Are
do?
you even looking at the problem?
No, she's not.
I mean, 5 by
Or else she's throwing in some additional math that I
I
don't
was-
know about.
No, 0.25.
Oh, it's 5 by 20.
So, Oh, he has that sort of advantage running pies. It's like he's just one half.
That's opportunity cost. That's gonna help compare. This is for absolute.
Work in business. Who can
produce more pies in the
It's
hour?
like she brings it down, she'll produce.
She has the opposite.
Then the opportunity cost is which one?
Is, who does it for cheaper?
This is what you got so far?
Absolute can be the same person. Comparative very rarely will be the same
So that
person.
means you would be a half. So 2. 25 is 2 good.
Well, let's see what it looks like to me. Because
Yeah,
so 5 and 20 pies. So your opportunity cost of 5 cakes, you're going to sell 20 pies. So divide both of those by 5 and find 1 cake. That's 4 pies. So and then reciprocal to the other side.
Well, Blake's
Yes.
making.
You look at the opportunity cost, like who should do what.
Yeah, opportunity cost. So these numbers tell you who should do it. Who gets cakes at a lower price.
Lauren. They'll have the most baked goods without losing stuff. Lauren is you'll have the most baked without losing. Well, that's wrong. I think Lauren, because like she did
So for these, when Lauren is decorating 5 cakes, in an hour, how many pies is she about to make? How many pies could she make in an hour?
She worked at Thursday, like the others, they kept going to like Wikipedia to see when it changed.
Yeah,
It was like
it changed when I was in the car with Everhart.
so. It was like 5 minutes after the swearing in or something.
I didn't change right at New York.
Alright.
When did the inauguration?
Oh, yes, y'all not do that?
I know, but like,
Birds?
it was like
So yeah, if you haven't put anything up on the map today, you can go ahead and do that. If you finish with that question.
is that when like instead of
Everhart was like shaking his head. And then he got pulled over for texting.
some of us after like Don, I guess one. Yeah, what? The first day he's already running
Is this saying the lower opportunity cost for decorating cakes? Is this saying
One of my students.
So, yeah, when we're looking at
was anybody
opportunity
actually
cost is
said?
going to be. So when you're only making one
I just
cake,
look something.
no.
What are students? Sir, why do you have your students on Saturday?
So,
He has a flip on thing on his air.
what price would you rather pay for cake? $2?
No.
That's
Oh.
when he makes
And then
Blake
he
makes
has
cake.
the
He
rebound.
only moves down to
He still listens to CDs.
Lauren, if she makes
It's
cake,
not like Flip's
she's
with
not
USB
making
things.
$4.
Well, he has to
So he has the lower
So
opportunity.
he'll like, you're playing it.
Forgot to put shrimp.
So the
Soil.
So
Yeah, I'm sure you heard. Probably, honestly.
if this weren't to be specialized in baking, and it was.
She makes 5.
I barely noticed the clarinets. Yes, she knows when we're
Like, he only has one lesson in like, he only has like one lesson.
They would.
video
Price that they would be willing to exchange.
You're the one who has ham wrapped up. I'm freaking tired of
Let's take a look at that question. So, for Lauren, when Lauren is decorating 5 cakes, how many pies does she miss out on? 20, right? She spends that 1 hour doing all cakes. She misses out on any pies because she's not making 20 pies. And so the opportunity cost of Lauren baking 1 cake, how many pies does she miss out on when she makes 1 cake? 4 whole pies to make 1 cake. All right, and then Blake, opportunity cost of 4 cakes is 8 pies. And so when he only decorates 1 cake, how many pies is he missing? 2. Right, he's missing out on 2 pies. So who gives up less to make cakes? Blake, right? Because he's been able to buy cake for $2, where Lauren buys them for $4. Right, so he can do it at a lower cost. Right? That was pasta salad.
Yeah, it's so crunchy, ain't it?
Yeah.
I love it.
Smacked me in the face as I was walking past.
I mean, it's ridiculous. Allie, put your stuff up. I mean, I'm sorry.
Okay, so 4, opportunity cost of Lauren making 20 pies. She missed out on 5 cakes. And so the opportunity cost of her making 1 pie is 1/4 of a cake. So she misses 1/4 of a cake every time she makes a pie. And then Blake, he makes 8 pies. He's missing out on how many cakes? 4. And so that means for 1 pie, it is half a cake. Right? So who has the absolute advantage for cakes?
Lauren.
And the absolute advantage for pies?
Lauren.
All right. It's a bit of a sexist question if you ask me.
Yeah.
Because she's a girl, that means she's better at baking.
Yeah.
I'm a pretty jam up baker myself. Sometimes. All right. Who has the lower opportunity cost for decorating cakes? Right, Blake. Blake gets his cakes for cheaper. Who's got the lower opportunity cost for pies?
Lauren.
Lauren got the lower opportunity cost for pies. Right? Because would you rather pay a quarter or 50 cents for a pie?
I'd rather pay.
You'd rather pay a quarter, right? So who should do cakes? Who should do pies? Lauren. All right. And then that last question is, do you know how specialization affects business?
That will have lots of baked goods.
This is the productivity.
Yeah, they'll be more efficient if they both specialize.
In 1 week.
All right. So I don't want to get you guys too much further ahead than 3rd block. So I've got a little quiz for you guys.
Okay. We should.
Wait, is it great?
Huh?
Some Bigfoot video.
Maybe I will. All right. What I want you guys to do, I've got a series. Whoa! I thought you were throwing something at Ansley.
No, I really didn't.
That's what you did.
It's like the entirety of that pen had been shot out somewhere.
That's what you did. Can you tell me?
So there's that. There might be a spring somewhere. Okay, so guys, here's what this is. This is a test. It's got 44 very simple questions that you answer with a yes or a no.
He's supposed to do what?
It's 44 questions. It's not 50.
She did that.
Did you know?
You need
Yes, she did.
every 2 weeks.
I come in like 3 times a week. No, I cut them. Like, you cut them. Oh, my fingernails.
Okay, so
like a wrist.
I'm going to pass these papers out face down. Don't turn it over and don't start answering questions until I tell you.
I do what I want, and then I won't. Because I won't.
Actually, leave the face out. Just don't start answering any questions yet. You can go ahead and put your name on it.
Can I have that sharper back? We took it from Max. Just don't steal stuff. Kevin, you look like a president. I'm not, I didn't even touch you.
What's the
Wait. Okay. Alright. So,
yeah, that's probably
here's how this is going to work. Alright. Go ahead. Look, write your name on it. Alright. So, look at the first question. Do dogs bark?
yes.
Alright. So that one, I mean, the answer to that one is what? Yes. So you'll circle yes.
It says highlight the right answer, so I'm gonna highlight no on every single one.
You can highlight or you can circle. Alright, that's up to you. Alright, and then there's the second question, which for some of you is going to be the first question in the next column. Some of you is going to be the next question down, but is coal white? No. Right? That's an answer that is no. Right? So you guys, as you go through here, just answer yes or no to the question. Right? If you do not understand a word, do your best to answer the question. Right? But don't ask for clarification.
She kind of had a good point. Why is the emphasis on right? Does that actually make? Is this one of your like little trick things?
Is it?
I don't know. That's not.
It's up to you to figure out.
I'm already stuck in.
Can you please just tell us if you know how
I'm already stuck on is ordered.
What if it actually is like you're supposed to follow?
Do you want to highlight the correct answer?
Directions? Is that what you're asking? That says, can you read? But up here it says highlight the right answer. But the emphasis on right.
Look, don't italicize right. You're going to confuse everyone.
Gordon, so if I said highlight the correct answer, would it mean the same thing as what you put there?
If you don't use
theoretically,
it,
Score right to raise your
wait, what do you mean did boys play? Why did play? What is that? That's kind of a weird question.
Take your answer. Yes or no?
So, this capital A.
Are you grading this?
If you don't know a word, don't look it up. Just go. Just answer.
Do imbeciles usually hold responsibility? Yes.
Is this a trick test?
What do you mean?
It's a literacy test.
Yeah.
So, a railroad ticket's free. Well, railroads don't have tickets. Trains do. Is this one of these?
You might be overthinking.
Sometimes. Because my friend brought a cat to school.
What kind of empire are you talking about? Like an army empire? Like a Roman empire? Or the Galactic Empire?
What empire comes to mind to you when you get to that question?
Yeah.
They probably do for
Do clerks enjoy? What is it? What is it? That's like it's like a.
It's part of what you have to figure out.
Oh, hey,
that's kind of what the test is asking.
I mean, yeah,
you know the
definition.
definition. You know what these words mean.
Yeah, it's from the gas station people.
You should know it's on your face.
No. Or 6 more than 2.
6 is plural. 6 things.
John Bonet?
Where does that even come from?
Is John a girl's name?
Oh.
The question says is John a girl's name.
I wish there was an IDK option.
So if you put no, it's not a girl's name. Does that mean
ice? Okay, never mind. It's ice hot, like dry.
No.
But is it hot?
It can feel hot, but it's not.
It is. It's moderation.
It's relative.
It's icy.
Yeah, icy hot. What about icy hot?
If you honestly don't know the answer, you can leave it blank.
Oh.
Okay, I'll take it from you.
Oh, no, I can't.
Bordeaux.
you're at.
Oh, Lord.
I feel like we do this too.
It just don't count for something.
Viral behavior.
What does that even mean? All a man's career to be ruined by accident.
Oh,
No.
they pay.
What kind of school are you talking about? Like school here? School anywhere?
Dude, like,
What kind of school are you thinking when you hear this?
Asian school?
Do you send cats to
I mean, you
yes,
could.
you can.
That'd be a waste of time.
No, cats aren't obedient.
Cat,
I already highlighted.
cats don't care what you want.
Yes. Sometimes.
What are these words?
Loquacious.
It's cold white. Well, when coal's burned, it turns white, right? Or cold.
Is it still cold at that point?
Exactly. I guess. But it's still in cold. No, I'm still Do men eat stones? I mean, sometimes men have kidney stones. Something to eat. Can a bed run? I mean, you know, back in the beach, we had one of them inflatable bed things. It ran. A bed cannot rock. Oh, bed rock. Oh, it's one of these ones.
So the right one.
When you say right,
Don't worry, I'll fill that in. I'll fill that
Wait,
in.
it says right.
It's John girl's name.
Which right is he talking about? You talking over here?
John Bonet. It's a girl.
What is that name, John?
John Bonet's her last name. Oh no.
No,
John
Randy.
Bonet.
I got a pretty interesting question for you. Alright, when it says right answer, is it called right over here?
That's for you to figure out.
Okay, Dylan, shut up. We're overthinking this.
The pestilences.
Well, probably not. Probably underthinking it, really.
Great benefit. No.
Is this page of one?
Yes.
That's that unsure.
Alright, so. No. Explain.
Huh?
What all the questions like?
All right.
What's it gonna tell you?
It's going to tell me your literacy level compared to. You said it on that desk up there. You see that one blank? The one that's there.
Who is Devin?
It's going to tell me your literacy level based on 19 like the 19 teens standards.
Who is Dennis?
19.
He's the guy who created
Jeez
this.
Louise. Do the tumors terminate in cerebral?
He originally created this test for the military. Like most things. Conscientious.
Is it a test?
Can we guess? Or is that?
Yeah, you're welcome to guess. If you don't know, you can also leave it blank.